All right, we'll be live here in 2 seconds.
I guess I can't really block out the kitchen too effectively unless I move over like this. Oh, that's the wrong way.
It's a good effort.
I'm too tired to even contemplate how to fix that.
After this little thing that we're doing here, whatever you want to call this, meeting Tim for lunch. He's
Tim, real Tim?
Yeah, he's in town for a wedding.
I thought he was in Chicago.
He was, and then he drove down here. And I'm also bringing him belts and ties because he did not bring those.
That is amazing. All right, well, neat. Let me try to center that, actually. Okay.
You ready?
Does it matter?
No. What was that noise?
That was the sound of this cup going against the microphone. It's a Joshua Tree Tour 2017 cup.
Fantastic, Paul. Fantastic. You're just keeping it real. How's the weather?
It's been hot. It's about 93 degrees today. Although this is the last and hottest day of the heat wave that has enveloped Europe since apparently I arrived.
Well, I'm just happy that we could join you at peak miserable. I mean, that's...
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this ending.
Yeah. So you're back in Sweden now. You're gone from Germany.
Did we actually do a show from Germany? I can't even remember. Did we ever do one? Because I know what day did your water heater burst?
That was Tuesday.
We didn't do it that day. So we must have done one Wednesday, and then we didn't do one yesterday.
Yep, because you were traveling again. And so here we are.
Yep.
And not that travel gets the best of us, but Paul wrote up earlier today that Windows 7 is getting a price hike.
I just wanted to reiterate how tired I am. Yeah, I was. We were coming home on the train, and Mary Jo had Skyped me and said, "Hey, I'm sure you already know this, but you wrote Windows 7 a bunch of times, and you meant Windows 10." And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't actually know that." So I asked you and Mehedi if somebody could please correct my egregious error.
Yep, but for those who are curious, if you're on the enterprise side of life or the on-premises, if either of those words make sense to you, expect to pay just a little bit more, well, 10% more if you're in the office world, starting with 2019 products.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing about this is I actually spent a bunch of time researching two things because I really don't understand the answers to these questions, which are what is the difference between Windows 10, not Windows 7, Enterprise and Windows 10 Enterprise E3, and what was, or I guess is currently the pricing of Windows 10 Enterprise as compared to E3. I was able to find the pricing on E3, and I know that as part of this price hike, the price of non-E3 Enterprise is going up to the same price as E3, but I don't know what the current price is.
Yeah, and even so, that's a loaded question within itself, because even if you found a publicly listed price point, any company that's buying more than 5 licenses is probably getting a volume discount. So it's not truly like, okay, it's $7. Actually, it might be $7. I remember writing about this at some point, but whatever that figure is, most companies are not paying that. They're paying something less than that because they're buying in volume or it's bundled or everything else. So
Right. Okay. Well, it wasn't the biggest mistake I made in that article. That's what happens when you write when you're in a heat stroke, you know? I'm lucky it wasn't just a random characters.
Yeah, it just kind of nods off at the end where it just ends in babble.
It's just like literally there's no period. It's like mid-sentence just ends.
Yeah, it's happened. I've written posts before, like I'll come back. I haven't done this recently, but come back from the bar And you're like, you know what? I'm not going to go to bed yet. I'm going to write something. Fortunately, I never really publish
Yeah.
it, but then I wake up in the morning thinking it's a done post just ready to go out, and you look at it and you're like, ooh,
It's like,
ooh,
did
that's
somebody
a,
fall asleep on the keyboard?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think the cat walked across it.
Hmm.
But something that was, I think, announced today, which I'm going to try out starting next week.
Okay.
Google Assistant, they now they have a routines feature. And
Yes.
they're
Scheduled routines.
Yeah, they're now doing the scheduled routines where I had yet to find a true assistant that every day at 8:15 would send me the traffic report
Yeah.
reliably to my daughter's school. I
So
tried.
the reason
Yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry. The reason I didn't write about this yet is I didn't find an official Google announcement. It is available. And I think
Yep.
Android Police was the place I saw this. But yeah, this is a big deal. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting that you caught on that. This is a really big one.
Yep. And so I have it scheduled for. It's a little hard to kind of figure out actually, especially on iOS. What I did was I just set a traffic thing, like I just said, send me the traffic every day at 8:15 a.m. And then it creates the little thing, and then at the bottom there's a button that says 8:15 a.m. and I tapped it and it turned blue. And I'm hoping that that means that it's coming every day during the week at 8:15 because the AI couldn't figure out that despite that forceful hand-holding,
Yeah.
I was going the same place every morning. So
Yeah, I'm going to play with this too. All right, maybe I'll just do every day at whatever time, just so I
Yeah.
can see what happens. Yeah, interesting.
so I'm hoping that's going to work out. But things that aren't working out, Paul, are Intel. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, I don't, you know, they, I don't, I guess it wasn't a record quarter, but they had an amazing quarter. They beat their year-over-year profits and revenues by dramatic numbers. I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head. I think profits were up 37% and revenue by something like 17%. So they had a blockbuster quarter. And, as far as like PC chips go, I mean, honestly, they have been beating the market in the sense that they've experienced growth in sales to that market at a time when that market wasn't actually growing, which, is a little bit hard to explain, but we see Microsoft does the same thing. It might have something to do with the fact that they're selling more chips to the premium gaming part of the market, which is, of course, where their strength lies anyway. So that could be it. But it's interesting. Like, they've always done a really good job. But there are a number of factors weighing on Intel, and among them is I love that somebody coined the phrase the 10 nanometer debacle. I didn't come up with that one myself, but this notion that Intel has been promising to make this technological transition to a more efficient, to a new manufacturing process that makes more efficient chips. 10 nanometer versus 14 nanometer for years, and they keep delaying it quarter by quarter, half year by half year. So the latest word was that it was going to happen by the beginning of 2019 in volume. And now they're saying the end of 2019 in volume and not until 2020 at the earliest for the servers, which, of course, in some ways is even more important when you think about it from energy efficiency and so forth.
Sure.
And I guess I didn't put this in my own article. I saw this later, but apparently AMD is making inroads in the data center as well, which is a huge problem for Intel because this is one of their few strongholds. In fact, they arguably have a better monopoly in servers than they do in desktop PCs, or just PCs. On the good news front, Qualcomm also released earnings this week. Qualcomm has had a couple of issues lately. I haven't really covered any of this stuff. Like, they dropped their bid for NXP, and apparently, the way they said this, it's kind of unclear, but I believe that Apple basically contacted them and said, yeah, we're not buying any more of your modems. So in the next generation of iPhones, they are not going to use Qualcomm modems, meaning that that Intel potentially will have that entire market to itself unless Apple's able to source a second vendor. The irony there is twofold. A, Intel isn't exactly well known for its mobile prowess, and those chips are actually not nearly as fast as the Qualcomm ones. And the second thing is that as a result of that, Apple actually slows down the Qualcomm modems in the iPhones that do use those modems to match the slower speed of the Intel modems, because they want every iPhone to be identical.
Yep.
Which is just like so goofy.
It's crazy. Yep.
Yeah. So I think what Intel needs is strong growth in non-PC, non-data center markets, and like Qualcomm, they are developing special chips for a variety of markets. Internet of Things and in the mobile world as well. And honestly, I don't think any of these things are huge markets per se, but the mobile chipset thing could be for them if they could get this right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's potentially a big deal.
I mean, they only sell a couple iPhones a year, so if that does hold out to be true, that'll be
Yep.
That'll be big news.
I think the word you were looking, the phrase you were looking for was hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
A year. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that actually got me thinking earlier today, because I was reading some of this as it was coming across the wire, and I tweeted out a question. Microsoft actually makes a significant number of chips themselves. I never really thought of them as, a chip manufacturer, but they really are. I mean, they have the HoloLens. They have the one in the Surface. They've got Xbox is kind of arguable because it's whatever. It's AMD, but it's theirs or whatever. They've got stuff in the Surface. And the other thing that I had learned was that for the upcoming Scarlett Cloud box, the streaming box, it's going to have their own silicon in it as well.
Yeah. No, this is the big push. I mean, I had written something about this sometime in the past year, but Apple kind of got this ball rolling where they have lots of custom chipsets that they make. I mean, obviously they also make the A-series processors, but increasingly there are these custom chips in their devices that are Apple designed. And Microsoft's doing the same thing. Like you said, the Pixel Sense chip that's in some of the newer Surface devices is a good example. I think Azure Sphere would fall into this category in the sense that it's kind of a Microsoft, at least a Microsoft co-design kind of thing.
And they've got the FPGAs as well. I forgot about those.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
So, yeah, I mean, it's the Alan Kay thing all over again. If you're serious about software, you have to make your own hardware. And, the world Alan Kay was probably envisioning when he said that in the 80s or whatever was a much simpler world than the one of today. But I do find it really interesting that and Google does the same thing too, right? And Google does the same thing on the cloud data center side as Microsoft too. These guys who are, known as software makers are increasingly making hardware, and especially specialized components for their systems that kind of differentiate them from the competition.
Yep, I've been trying to figure this out, and I know you told me how to do it, and I can never remember how to do it. How do you make the Chromeless web app in Chrome? I thought it was under more tools.
Yeah, it's weird because they keep changing it. So I might have a different version of Chrome than you do. So let me just look at it real quick. The language is going to vary depending on the kind of website you're looking at. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it is more tools. So if it's just a normal web page, it's create shortcut. Do you see that there?
Yeah.
And then when let me just see what it says. Yeah. So when the little create shortcut window comes up, you want to make sure it says open as a window. Now, the other thing. Yeah. To find these things later, I think you go, let me just see what this does. Is it like Chrome apps? Like Chrome, you get a Chrome : / I think it's apps or apps. Let me try apps. Yeah. That assuming you're signing into Chrome with your, your Google account, every time you do what you just did, that thing will be in the apps list. So you can go to a different computer and find it there. And you can actually change it there. So if you screw it up, you can right click it and check open as a window from there. And then you can launch it as a window, like a Chromeless window.
I can explain why later I needed that, but I cannot do that quite yet.
Okay. Very mysterious.
Very mysterious. Very mysterious. Everybody can calm down. It's not all that exciting.
Okay.
But I was just playing with something. Speaking of playing with something, Paul, how are you dealing with no Call of Duty?
Oh, it's not really a problem. Interesting. My son is here through Sunday, and he has a gigantic 17-inch HP gaming laptop that he actually travels with, which is really funny. I don't think I told you this. He, on the plane ride out, he opened this thing up, took out some Nintendo Switch controllers, the little ones like blue and red. And I guess it makes like a game controller or something. I don't know if he was using. I think they were together. I don't remember exactly. They were tiny though, and he was playing a game on the plane, I guess you connect it with Bluetooth or something. And he's been playing Fortnite and a game called The Forest and Overwatch. Yeah.
Overwatch is a good one. Yeah.
The funny thing is, I literally play Call of Duty every single day when I'm home, and I do it. There's kind of a schedule that I kind of have, like in the morning when I'm done with working and writing, and I kind of clean up for the podcast, and it's like 11:15. I'll play it before we start the podcast, and then I'll play again until we eat lunch, and then I go off and do other things. But I don't, it's weird. Like something about traveling, like it's just a different schedule, and it's a different kind of day. Someone had asked me about that in that Ask Paul thing this week. Like, well, why am I not just taking a vacation, which is kind of a complex answer, but because I'm 6 hours ahead of the United States, the East Coast of the United States now. I can get up in the morning, I can work and I did this today actually, where I wrote a couple of articles, and then we go out and we go into the city, and if we come back for 3, which is the typical schedule, that's like 9 a.m. back home, and then I can work for a couple hours, 2-3 hours more, and then dinner happens and whatever. And the podcast, because of the timing, like this one is 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. rather, ET. It's 7 p.m. here when we do that, but that's fine. It's like, as you can see, it is like noon here.
Yes,
because Stockholm. And then Windows Weekly is at 2, so that's like 8. Am I getting this right? Yeah, 8 to 10, and that's fine. It's fine, and it's still full light too. When that's done too. But it's kind of it's almost like a half day schedule in a way.
Yeah.
But it kind of focuses me more, because the truth is, if you think about, like, I probably do sit in front of the computer for 8 hours a day. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on, and this. Maybe people watching this might not understand this completely. Like, I'm not just like literally typing all day long.
Right.
But like I got for example, that Lenovo Smart Display came in the mail the day before we left for Germany. And so part of that day is you spend the time setting it up, taking photos and taking notes and everything. And that kind of stuff is happening all the time. Like when I'm home, I'll have like a laptop over, maybe I'm running battery life test on it or whatever. And I've got all this different, stuff going on. And so when I'm here, I don't have any of that other stuff going on. But I probably, most days, have the opportunity at least to sit in front of the computer and write, for roughly the same amount of time, roughly. I am away. I mean, so I usually off. I'm not really taking like an actual, like, here's the week I'm off, but I took some time off this week already. There were a couple of days there with the Berlin and traveling. It was kind of tough. And then when my friends come next week, I think I'll probably take a day or 2 off, but whatever.
Yeah, there's a question from the chat room. Maybe you can clarify here. The controllers that your son uses, what are those actual ones from Nintendo, or they like it? Somebody was asking because they're interested in them.
Yeah, he was using the Nintendo Switch controllers. I can ask him, actually. Hey, hey, babe, could you ask Mark to come down here for a second? Tell him it's time sensitive. We're on a live podcast. Oh, there he is. Come here. First of all, check out his new haircut. Look at him. Look how svelte he is.
High and tight. Like it. Looking good, Mark.
Military. I like it. Okay. So when you were on the plane, I saw you were playing a game and you had those Nintendo Switch controllers.
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
Well, those are just controllers for the Nintendo Switch, but I was using like an emulator to play like Nintendo 64 games, and you just use the
we can't hear.
controllers to play the games because it has all the same buttons.
So it was a Nintendo Switch controller. Were they plugged together, or were you using them?
Play them together, or you can do it separately.
How were you doing it though?
I was doing them separately.
Separate. So he had them. You could do it both ways. He was actually running an emulator for the Nintendo 64.
Oh, okay.
What's it called?
The emulator?
Yeah.
It's like Dolphin or something.
Dolphin.
It's like a
He lives in a hacker universe that I don't even understand, but yeah. Actually, he was playing Crash Bandicoot. That's what I saw. Because I looked over at that game and I was like, I've seen that game before.
Isn't that a PlayStation game?
Yeah, I thought so too. But it was Crash Bandicoot. Maybe he was playing some. Maybe he has different things going on, but he did play Crash Bandicoot.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. What do you got on the agenda for the weekend, Paul, before we shut her down?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm so tired. We had like this awful day of travel. It was just a long day of travel. Like we didn't get back here till 1 o'clock in the morning. Which, by the way, we did find out it does in fact get dark here briefly, and it happens at about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was nice. No, I just more of the same. I'll get a little bit of writing done. I've worked on the book a little bit as well, so I actually did update the book this week. I'll probably update it again before the end of the trip too. So I don't know. What about you?
Well, I'm going to go see Tim. I'm going to see Tim today, and I'm definitely going to see him on Sunday because if he takes my belt and ties, I'm going to need them.
That's really funny.
And then my birthday's on Monday, and my wife and I are going out, I think, Saturday night for some, I don't know, time without the kid. I don't know what we're doing.
I do have a birthday present for you from Marcus, but that will have to wait until after I get home.
Ruh-roh. I hope it's not 1,000 crickets. Because that would be.
Well, I have to fly with it, so we have to assume it's not explosive and/or something that would violate like an aviation safety law of some kind.
So there is an upper bound on the dangerousness of this item. At least we know.
It's like I've turned into a drug mule. You know, could you fly to a foreign country with this package, deliver it, and then come home with something else?
I need you to swing by Nicaragua on your way home. Can you do that for me?
Exactly. Oh, speaking of which,
go on.
As you know, and as you are as well, huge fan of Havana Club actual Cuban rum.
You have my attention.
There is a version of it here I've never seen before. It's in the house. It's a clear version. I think it's called Blanco. I can't remember the exact name. But basically, when you think about rum, there's usually like a golden version that's aged in a cask that has something, you know, just the wood. The wood of it, I guess, is what colors it, kind of that golden color. And then there's a silver rum, which is aged in a like a metal barrel, a metal container. So that's what this must be. But I've never seen this before. So I will have a full review of this product sometime in the next couple of hours.
I was going to say, have you informed the house owners that bottle may, in fact, be empty by the time they get back?
Well, actually, so my wife verified today that it is in the store. So we can safely open it now.
Well, that is good. That is good. Well, other than me playing a terrible golf game yesterday, that's what I did. And that's what
it's golf like fishing. Like, you know, a bad day golfing is still better than a good day working.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely is. Absolutely is. All right, folks. Well, that wraps it up for today. We'll be back probably on a scattered schedule next week as Paul's traveling. I know it's my birthday on Monday. I don't know if I'm even working or what I'm doing. My wife is planning something, but I don't know what it is. And so with that, folks, have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch you right back here next time on First Ring Daily. Whoops, I hit the wrong button.
Now we have to record the whole show again.
It's all failed. So.
How old are you going to be now?
That's a good question. 33.
I like that you had to do the math. That's how I can tell.
Yeah, I had to think. I was like, wait a minute.
You're like,
wait. Yeah, 30. It's, I believe, 33. So,
wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, you enjoy your time in the sunshine and the heat, and I will catch you later.
Say hi to Tim.
See ya.
Bye.